Welcome to my study today. Little, a little and least. Three very small words in English which, if you can understand them, can make your spoken English sound very, very good. There is an exercise at the end of the video for you to practice. Let's have a look at the grammar. Let's look at little, the adjective, first. Little is the opposite of big. Just a minute, is it? How will I describe these two men? Is it big and small? He is little, he is small. Well, in English, I think we prefer he is small. And then that changes the comparative and the superlative. So I can say little, smaller and smallest. So that's one way that it breaks the rules. And you may want to ask, well, can I say little, littler and littlest? Well, actually, only in colloquial English, and it would be very rare to use that construction, so I would certainly avoid that. And there is an emotional way of using little. Let me give you a little kiss. It doesn't mean a small kiss, it's just an emotional way of referring to that statement. And here's another way. John has a dear little house by the river. It doesn't mean the house is small, it just means it's romantic and by the river. Let's look at the conventional way of expressing little, less and least. He is poor and has little money. This is a negative statement, and if you remember a previous video, we could say he doesn't have much money. The comparative is less. He has less money than me. And of course you have to use than when you're using the comparative. And notice very carefully, less is used with an uncountable noun. You cannot use it with plurals. You could not say he has less apples than me. It has to be an uncountable noun. And least, which is the superlative, is used to express the smallest amount in a group, like this. Mary has 6 apples, John has 3, therefore John has the least. If we want to use little in a positive way, then we use a little. I ought to do a little work today. This means I ought to do at least some work today. This is where you have to be very careful and know exactly what you mean, because without the indefinite article a, little can be negative and mean almost nothing. They did little but drink tea for an hour. Now let's express that in another way. They didn't do much for an hour, only drink tea. So little here has a negative meaning. We can use little for emphasis, and it has these meanings: almost no or none, hardly enough, not enough. How little we know about space. And I've also emphasised it by putting the word how in front. How little. And generally I would say that to stress it. How little we know about space. Some villages have too little water for people to survive. And here I've used too little to emphasise the situation. It's negative, and I can even make it stronger by saying very little water. You remember from the previous slide, I said a little is positive, and it means a bit, to some extent. And it's good to compare that with a lot, lots and much. Look at this example. Could I have a little more sugar, please? That means just a small amount. And if you take the opposite, could I have a lot more sugar, please? I think you can see the difference between the two. It's going to be a little stormy tomorrow. A bit stormy. Little and a little are very useful for expressing subtle meanings like slightly and a bit. That roller coaster looks a little scary. Now this is really an understatement. It's an ironic statement really, because I think you're really afraid of going on it. It looks a little scary, but you really mean it looks very scary. We can use little as an adjective to express almost the same. There was little difference in the two offers. We can use it to express degree. I think I ate a little too much pie. It tells us how much of something. And here's an example of little on its own being almost negative. I play so very little tennis now, and I've stressed that by putting so very in front of little. If you can remember to do this in your written exams, you will get very, very good marks. When we use little with mid-position verbs, it can mean almost never, hardly ever. I little knew how difficult it would be. The old road is little used now. And finally, inversions. Little, when it comes at the beginning of a sentence, behaves exactly the same way as other negative words in inversions. Little did I know how difficult it would be. If you want to know more about inversions, I'll put a link to another video below. If you found my lesson useful, could I ask you please to subscribe, like, share and comment below. Oh, and remember to ring that bell. Thanks. Here are some exercises for you to practice. Exercise 1. Complete the sentences with a little, little and least. Exercise 1. Answers. In our next video, we'll look at must and have to. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe below and enjoy your grammar. Bye.